Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is Abhishek Mukhopadhyay with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses the need to improve quality of indigenously manufactured products to make them competitive and acceptable across the world. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold virtual summit with his Swedish counterpart Stefan Löfven in a short while from now. Prime Minister to receive CERAWeek Global Energy and Environment Leadership Award this evening. Notification for second phase of assembly elections in West Bengal and Assam issued today. In Maharashtra, new restrictions imposed in Nagpur district due to recent spike in COVID cases. Mass gatherings, processions and public gatherings banned till 19th March. India receives highest ever foreign direct investments of over $67 billion for the first 9 months of current fiscal. India cautions UN Security Council against dangers of weapons of mass destruction falling into hands of terrorist groups. And in sports, Indian shuttlers PV Sindhu, Kidambi Shrikant, Sai Praneeth and Ajay Jairam to play their quarter-final matches in Swiss Open Badminton today. In cricket, India were 146 for 6 against England on the second day of the fourth and final test match in Ahmedabad. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has stressed on the need to improve the quality of indigenously manufactured products to make them more competitive and acceptable across the world.
भारत की कंपनियां और भारत में की जा रही मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को ग्लोबली कॉम्पिटिटिव बनाने के लिए हमें दिन रात एक करना होगा। हमारी प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट, प्रोडक्ट्स की क्वालिटी और एफिशिएंसी ग्लोबल मार्केट में अपनी पहचान बनाए, इसके लिए हमें जुटकर काम करना होगा और हमारी प्रोडक्ट यूजर फ्रेंडली भी होनी चाहिए, टेक्नोलॉजी में मोस्ट मॉडर्न होनी चाहिए, एफोर्डेबल होनी चाहिए, लंबे समय तक सस्टेन करने वाली होनी चाहिए.
The Prime Minister was speaking today at a webinar of the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, and Niti Aayog on Production-Linked Incentive Scheme. This scheme has been launched to make the country self-reliant in various sectors by providing incentives to industries to boost production.
हम लोगों की कोशिश ये है कि देश का बजट और देश के लिए पॉलिसी मेकिंग सिर्फ सरकारी प्रक्रिया बनकर ना रहे, देश के विकास से जुड़े हर स्टेक होल्डर्स का इसमें इफेक्टिव एंगेजमेंट हो. इसी क्रम में आज मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर, मेक इन इंडिया को ऊर्जा देने वाले आप सभी महत्वपूर्ण साथियों से ये चर्चा हो रही है. बीते हफ्तों में अलग अलग सेक्टर्स के लोगों से बहुत ही फलदायी संवाद हुआ है. बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण और इनोवेटिव सुझाव आए हैं. आज के इस वेबिनार का फोकस विशेष रूप से प्रोडक्शन लिंक इंसेंटिव से जुड़ा हुआ है.
The Prime Minister said the government is taking many steps to make India self-reliant. He said speed and scale must be enhanced to boost the manufacturing sector. Highlighting the importance of production-linked incentive scheme, Mr. Modi said this will create the necessary ecosystem for various industries to boost their production and manufacturing of quality products.
हमारी सरकार मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को बढ़ावा देने के लिए एक के बाद एक लगातार रिफॉर्म्स कर रही है. हमारी नीति और रणनीति हर तरह से स्पष्ट है. हमारी सोच है मिनिमम गवर्नमेंट, मैक्सिमम गवर्नेंस. हमारी अपेक्षा है जीरो इफेक्ट, जीरो डिफेक्ट.
He added that the scheme will also enhance the export capabilities of industries, generate employment and improve income.
बढ़ती हुई मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कैपेबिलिटीज देश में एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन को भी उतना ही बढ़ाती है. भारत भी इस सेक्टर में अब इसी अप्रोच के साथ बहुत तेजी से काम करना चाहता है, आगे बढ़ना चाहता है.
Mr. Modi said provisions of more than 2 lakh crore rupees have been made in the budget for the PLI scheme, and it is expected that it will lead to manufacture of products worth $520 billion in the coming 5 years. He stressed on improving the ease of doing business and said,
आप सबको साथ लेकर के आगे बढ़ने का प्रयास कर रही है, चाहे ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस पर बल देना हो, कंप्लायंस बर्डन को कम करना हो, लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट को कम करने के लिए मल्टी मॉडल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाने की बात हो, या फिर जिला स्तर पर एक्सपोर्ट हब इसका निर्माण, हर स्तर पर काम किया जा रहा है.
Referring to declaration of the year 2023 as the International Year of Millets, the Prime Minister said it will provide unique opportunities to farmers. He said use of millets will help in reducing diseases due to its nutritious value. He appealed to agriculture and food processing sectors to use this golden opportunity to enhance the production and processing of millets. Appreciating the vaccine diplomacy of the country, Mr. Modi said the way India is serving humanity is being appreciated across the world. He said the country's credibility and identity is reaching new heights, and trust in Indian products has increased manifold across the globe. He appealed for the proactive participation of industries to prepare goods as per the changing requirements of the world. He said industries must focus on innovation, research and skill development so that globally accepted products can be prepared at the domestic level.
Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant, who was also present in the webinar, emphatically asserted that India must emerge as a key manufacturer across several sectors linking it to the global supply chain in the next 2 years. Mr. Kant asserted that the Niti Aayog is actively engaged in hand-holding the companies, allowing them to become global champions. He added that the government has made the process of approval for production-linked incentives, PLI, very simple and easy. Mr. Kant urged the private sector companies to accept the challenge of delivery in terms of production by utilizing the benefits of the PLI scheme. Speaking exclusively to AI News, Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant said, Prime Minister's push to the manufacturing sector by introducing the PLI scheme in 13 key sectors will result in production of goods worth $520 billion in the next 5 years.
Honorable Prime Minister laid a lot of emphasis on Indian manufacturing becoming an integral part of global supply chain. He laid focus on bringing in size and scale of manufacturing and focused on quality, and what he told the private sector is that India must become a manufacturing nation. He talked about Make in India for the world, and I think his words were very inspiring and should motivate our manufacturers to use the production-linked incentive scheme to globally and technologically leapfrog into the manufacturing sector across the 13 areas where the production-linked incentive scheme has been announced. This is a very important scheme of the government. The Honorable Prime Minister said that the government is supporting them to an extent of about 26 billion, which should lead to increased output of about 520 billion in the next 5 years.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold a virtual summit with his Swedish counterpart Stefan Löfven in a short while from now. This will be the fifth interaction between the two leaders since 2015. Our correspondent reports that India and Sweden have warm and friendly relations based on shared values of democracy, freedom, pluralism and rules-based international order. More in this report.
During the summit, the two leaders will hold comprehensive discussions on the entire spectrum of the bilateral relations and exchange views on regional and global issues, including further strengthening of cooperation in the post-COVID era. In April last year, the two Prime Ministers had a telephonic conversation to discuss the situation arising out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Both countries have very close cooperation in the areas of trade and investment, innovation, science and technology, and research and development. Around 250 Swedish companies are actively operating in India in various sectors such as health and life sciences, auto industry, clean technology, defense, heavy machinery and equipment. Around 75 Indian companies are also active in Sweden. Suparna Saikya, AIR News, Delhi.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will receive the CERAWeek Global Energy and Environment Leadership Award this evening. He will also deliver the keynote address at the Cambridge Energy Research Associates Week 2021 via video conferencing. CERAWeek was founded in 1983 by Dr. Daniel Yergin, CERAWeek Global Energy and Environment Leadership Award was instituted in 2016. It recognizes the commitment of leadership on the future of global energy and environment and for offering solutions and policies for energy access, affordability and environmental stewardship. Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will address the Combined Commanders Conference CCC today at Kevadia in Gujarat. The three-day conference, which is a premier brainstorming event of the military commanders from the three services, commenced yesterday and will culminate tomorrow. The valedictory session tomorrow will be chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, which will also be marked by the presence of National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. The combined apex-level military leadership of the country is reviewing the security situation and defence preparedness of the armed forces and deliberating pertinent organizational issues for evolving a joint military vision for the future. In a major deviation from the past, the scope of the conference this year has been expanded to make it a multi-layered, interactive, informal and informed event with the added participation of about 30 officers and soldiers of various ranks from the three services.
In Assam, the notification for the second phase of assembly polls has been issued today. 39 assembly seats will be covered in this phase. 12th of this month is the last day for filing of nomination papers in this phase. A total of over 73 lakh voters can exercise the voting rights in this phase. Our correspondent reports that with the issuance of notification, the formal process of filing of nomination papers has begun. Meanwhile, major political parties are expected to announce the candidates' lists soon. In West Bengal, notification for the second phase of assembly elections has been issued today. 30 seats across 4 districts will go to polls on the 1st of April. The last date for filing of nominations is 12th of March. Scrutiny will be done on the 15th of March, whereas withdrawal of candidature ends on the 17th of March. The Chief Electoral Officer of West Bengal, Ariz Aftab, has written to the district election officers to keep contractual workers of the state government away from the poll process. According to sources in the CEO office, the Commission will also be focusing on the booths where more than 90% polling has been recorded in 2019 general elections and 2016 assembly elections. Meanwhile, the ruling TMC has demanded the removal of Sudeep Jain, the Deputy Election Commissioner in charge of the state, accusing him of being biased against it and breaking norms of the federal structure. On the other hand, BJP has demanded removal of administrators appointed by the state government in municipal corporations after the end of the term. The United Front of Congress-led parties and ISF alleged that the Model Code of Conduct has been violated by some of the officers of police and administration.
In the Union Territory of Puducherry, following the announcement of the elections, major political parties like AIADMK, DMK, Congress, BJP and NR Congress are engaged in hectic activities. Parleys and discussions are being held to finalize alliances. More from our Puducherry correspondent.
Deadlock continues in the All India NR Congress to finalize the alliance with the BJP, AIADMK on the sharing of seats and the Chief Minister candidate. While talking to media persons, the State President of BJP, Swaminathan, said that a NR Congress leader, Rangasamy, will continue with the National Democratic Alliance and a concrete decision will be intimated tomorrow. But as far as the Congress-DMK alliance is concerned, the Puducherry Congress State President Subramanian earlier said that the Congress is willing to give the number of seats that the DMK seeks. But in Tamil Nadu, the situation is different, since the DMK Congress parties has not finalized their sharing of seats till now. In fact, the decisions taken in Tamil Nadu, irrespective of the parties, influence Puducherry politics also. But the latest development shows that the Congress will have a tough time in the forthcoming assembly elections because of the joining of prominent Congress MLAs in the BJP and a refusal of some Congress leaders to contest the elections. Chandra Mohan, Yar News, Puducherry.
In Kerala, as assembly polls are nearing, discussions on seat sharing and the candidates' list are in full swing among the three major fronts. In the ruling LDF, the list of candidates will be finalized only after discussing with party district committees and may be announced after the CPIM Secretariat meet to be held on March the 8th. Meanwhile, in UDF, the seat allocation talks are gathering pace. The Congress is in bilateral discussion with the Joseph faction to resolve the dispute over the Kottayam seats. The meeting of Muslim League leaders also began in Panakkad today. In NDA, the BJP and BDJS candidate selection has reached the final stage. BJP is likely to finalize the candidate list with the conclusion of the Vijaya Yatra held by BJP State President K. Surendran. The three fronts are targeting to complete the selection of candidates by the 10th of March.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses the need to improve quality of indigenous manufactured products to make them competitive and acceptable across the world. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold virtual summit with his Swedish counterpart Stefan Löfven in a short while from now. Prime Minister to receive CERAWeek Global Energy and Environment Leadership Award this evening. Notification for second phase of assembly elections in West Bengal and Assam issued today. In Maharashtra, new restrictions imposed in Nagpur district due to recent spike in COVID cases. Mass gatherings, processions and public gatherings banned till 19th of March. India receives highest ever foreign direct investments of over $67 billion for the first 9 months of the current fiscal. India cautions UN Security Council against dangers of weapons of mass destruction falling into the hands of terrorist groups. And in sports, Indian shuttlers PV Sindhu, Kidambi Srikanth, Sai Praneeth and Ajay Jairam to play the quarter-final matches in the Swiss Open Badminton today. And in cricket, India were 152 for 6 against England on the second day of the fourth and final test match in Ahmedabad. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on the Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back to the Midday News. The Union Health Ministry today said that 1,80,05,503 people have been vaccinated till now. It said the COVID-19 recovery rate in the country now stands at 97.01%. In the last 24 hours, 13,819 people were discharged. Till now, 1,08,39,894 people have recovered from COVID-19. In the last 24 hours, 16,838 new COVID cases have been reported. With this, the total number of cases has gone up to 1,11,73,761. The ministry said 113 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. And the death toll in the pandemic has touched 1,57,548. Active cases in the country are now at 1,76,319. Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar received the first jab of COVID-19 vaccine today at Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital in Pune, Maharashtra. In a tweet after getting vaccinated, Mr. Javadekar said the vaccination process is easy and Made in India vaccines are fully safe. He also appealed to all citizens to get vaccinated as and when they become eligible in the phase-wise vaccination program.
The Governor of Maharashtra, Bhagat Singh Koshyari, was administered the first shot of Covaxin at the state-run JJ Hospital in Mumbai today. Director of the Medical Education and Research, Dr. T.P. Lahane, Dean of Sir JJ Group of Hospitals, Dr. Ranjit Mankeshwar, Medical Superintendent Dr. Vijay Surase were present. Karnataka reported 571 COVID-19 positive cases, 496 recoveries and 4 deaths yesterday. The number of active cases in the state has risen to 6,128 persons. The positivity rate remains under control at 0.72% and the case fatality rate at 0.70%. Bengaluru urban district remains at the top of the list in the state with 385 positive cases and 2 deaths yesterday. Vaccination has shown a steady progress in the state. Till yesterday, 4,51,007 healthcare workers were inoculated with the first dose of COVID vaccine and 2,20,566 of them with the second dose. Similarly, 1,64,194 frontline warriors were given the first dose and 6 of them the second dose.
In Gujarat, more than 1 lakh persons were given COVID-19 vaccinations yesterday. All these persons were above the 60 years of age or above the 45 years with comorbidity. Quoting official sources, AIR Ahmedabad correspondent reports that not a single instance of any side effect has been reported so far.
According to the State Health Department, 1,31,969 persons have been vaccinated during the last 24 hours. This is the biggest ever figure of one-day vaccination in the state till now. Now the vaccination of 11,09,515 have been completed till date. Meanwhile, 480 new cases of COVID-19 reported during the last 24 hours, while 369 patients have been discharged from the hospitals after recovery. Total 2,64,564 patients have been recovered from COVID-19 till now. Yogesh Pandya, Air News, Ahmedabad.
In Maharashtra, Nagpur division is witnessing a spike in COVID-19 cases. Yesterday, 1,070 new COVID-19 cases were registered in Nagpur district alone. Amravati district is also registering 600 plus cases since the last 5 days. More from our Nagpur correspondent.
In Maharashtra, Nagpur division is witnessing steady rise in number of COVID-19 cases. Amravati district is also registering 600 plus cases since the last 5 days. New restrictions are imposed due to this recent spike in COVID-19 cases in the Nagpur district. District Collector and Chairman of District Disaster Management Authority, Nagpur, Ravindra Thakre, ordered yesterday, directing people in rural areas of Nagpur district to inform the respective local authorities about wedding ceremonies at home too. Commissioner of Police Nagpur, Amitesh Kumar, has also issued notification banning any mass gathering, taking out possessions, holding public gatherings from March 5th to 19th. The order was issued as Pragat Din of Gajanan Maharaj is observed in large scale in city by individuals and social and religious organizations. Gauri Marathe, Nagpur.
India received the highest ever foreign direct investments of over $67 billion for the first 9 months of a financial year last year. During the period of April to December 2020, FDI equity inflow grew by 40% as compared to the corresponding period in the last financial year. As per Ministry of Commerce and Industry, these trends are an endorsement of India's status as a preferred investment destination amongst global investors. Measures been taken by the government on the fronts of policy reforms, investment facilitation and ease of doing business have resulted in tremendous FDI inflows into the country. India has urged UN Security Council to remain cognizant of the dangers of weapons of mass destruction falling into the hands of terrorist groups. It has also said for an objective investigation into the alleged use of chemical weapons. Speaking at the UNSC, India's Deputy Permanent Representative, Political Coordinator to the UN, R. Ravindra, said that the activities of terrorists, especially ISIS, have increased in the region. India also urged the countries not to link humanitarian and development assistance with politics. He said India calls for a comprehensive and peaceful resolution of the Syrian conflict through a Syrian-led dialogue, taking into account the legitimate aspirations of the Syrian people. He also pointed out that India has contributed to the return of normalcy and rebuilding of Syria through humanitarian assistance and human resource development. India has provided $1 million to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW Trust Fund, for activities relating to the destruction of chemical weapons in Syria.
China has set an economic growth target of above 6% for 2021, Premier Li Keqiang announced on Friday at the National People's Congress in Beijing. Li said while presenting the government work report that in view of the country's economic recovery, this general target has been set. He further said China will continue to face many development risks and challenges in 2021, but the economic fundamentals that will sustain long-term growth remain unchanged. The International Monetary Fund forecast in January that China's economy would grow by 8.1% in 2021. China, the second largest economy of the world, did not set an economic growth target in 2020 in a break from tradition due to the impact of COVID-19. China's economy contracted by 6.8% in the first quarter last year amid widespread lockdowns to contain the spread of COVID-19. But China's economy rebounded and grew 2.3% in 2020. International Women's Day is celebrated on the 8th of March. All India Radio News is honouring women achievers from diverse fields by bringing their stories. Today we bring to you the stories of women entrepreneurs. The government has given a push on being Atmanirbhar. Disha Singh, an entrepreneur, is supporting this vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat with her enterprise Zoak. Her enterprise is a vegan handbags and accessories brand. More in this report.
The products have old Indian craft coming together with modern touch. The name of the enterprise in itself means an amalgamation of two different art forms. Disha Singh proudly says that they are completely Indian as the raw material which they source is from various parts of the country.
The zouk is a dance form which is an amalgamation of two very, very different forms. And that is what we are also trying to bring in when we are building out zouk, wherein we are trying to get the rich heritage of India into the modern hands today, like by making modern products. So that was the whole concept of what zouk is all about by the name as well as what we do in the product. All our products are also Indian looking. All our karigars are from across India. So we have a strength of more than 70 plus karigar in our manufacturing facilities, and in the different domains we have more than 10 plus people. In fact, the fabric that we source also for our bags is sourced from different parts of our country.
She also adds that Indian handicraft has a potential to go global as the craftsmanship in the country is very strong and the demand outside for Indian products is very high. Diksha Saxena, AIR News, Delhi.
In Odisha, the birth anniversary of the legendary leader and former Chief Minister Biju Patnaik has been celebrated today. Chief Minister Navin Patnaik, paying tributes to the leader, has described him as a great statesman, freedom fighter and an architect of modern Odisha. Government of Odisha is also observing the day as Panchayati Raj and Lok Seva Divas. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also paid tributes to former Chief Minister of Odisha, Biju Patnaik, on his 105th birth anniversary. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said, Biju Babu's futuristic vision for India, emphasis on human empowerment as well as social justice, inspires us all. He said the nation is proud of his efforts for Odisha's progress.
Indian shuttlers PV Sindhu, Kidambi Shrikant, Sai Praneeth and Ajay Jairam will play their quarterfinals of singles competition today at the Swiss Open Super 300 badminton tournament. Reigning women's world champion Sindhu will take on Busanen Ombam Rungpan of Thailand, while Jairam will face Kunlavut Vittidatsan of Thailand. K. Shrikant will play another Thai, Kantapon Wangcharoen, who holds the 18th world ranking. World Championship bronze medalist Sai Praneeth will take on 11th ranked Lee Zi-chia. Indian mixed doubles pair of Satvik Sairaj, Ranki Reddy and Ashwini Ponnappa will fight against the pair of Tan Kian Meng and Lai Pei Ching. In men's doubles, Satvik Sairaj, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty will take on Ong Hyu Sin and Teo Yi of Malaysia in their quarterfinals. In cricket, India were 153 for 6 at tea in the first innings against England. On the second day, in the fourth and final test match at Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad, resuming the innings from the overnight score of 36 for 1, India lost 6 wickets cheaply. Top guns Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane parted in quick succession, and Shubman Gill and Virat Kohli were removed for a duck. Rishabh Pant and Washington Sundar were at the crease. For the visitors, James Anderson, Jack Leach and Ben Stokes took 2 wickets each. Earlier on the opening day, England were bowled out for 205.
Now let us take a look at the weather update for the day. In the national capital Delhi, strong surface winds during the daytime is expected. Maximum temperature is expected to be around 33 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have clear sky with temperature rising up to 35 degrees Celsius. The minimum temperature was 22 degrees. Chennai is expected to have clear sky with the temperature rising up to 32 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have clear sky. The city recorded minimum temperature of 22 degrees Celsius and a maximum will be around 35 degrees. Srinagar may witness partly cloudy sky towards afternoon or evening. The minimum temperature was 4 degrees Celsius while the maximum will be nearly 19 degrees. Jammu will have mainly clear sky. The lower level of temperature was 12 degrees Celsius while the maximum may be around 28 degrees.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses the need to improve quality of indigenously manufactured products to make them competitive and acceptable across the world. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold a virtual summit with his Swedish counterpart Stefan Löfven in a short while from now. Prime Minister to receive CERAWeek Global Energy and Environment Leadership Award this evening. Notification for second phase of assembly elections in West Bengal and Assam issued today. In Maharashtra, new restrictions imposed in Nagpur districts due to recent spike in COVID cases. Mass gatherings, processions banned till 19th March. India receives highest ever foreign direct investments of over $67 billion for the first 9 months of current fiscal. India cautions UN Security Council against dangers of weapons of mass destruction falling into the hands of terrorist groups. And in sports, Indian shuttlers PV Sindhu, Kidambi Shrikant, Sai Praneeth and Ajay Jairam to play their quarter-final matches in Swiss Open Badminton today. In cricket, India were 153 for 6 against England at tea on the second day of the fourth and final test match in Ahmedabad. And with that, we end the midday news.